All right. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. It's another month of the RecPoker and Unshuffled mixed game demo. Every month, we take a look at a different mixed game. We host those mixed games here at RecPoker, and Jake from Unshuffled.io does a little demo helping our new members learn how to play these new mixed games that they might be dipping a toe into. So the game coming up in June is Limit Omaha 8 or better. That's a lot of words. I don't know how to play this game. Jake, come and help us and tell us how to play Limit Omaha 8 or better.
It is a lot of terms, a lot of words. So you can hear from a lot of different names. There's Omaha High Low, eight or better, uh, fixed or limit Omaha eight or better. The eight or better refers to the scoring of the cards. So correct me if I'm wrong, but typically eight or better is played with a high and a low hand. So there's two different bets going on. It's pots essentially going on in every hand, right? Um, and the eight or better indicates the qualifier for the low hand. So the low hand is the best set of cards between two and eight. Um, and you'll see what I mean by a qualifier because you need three low cards on the flop in order to make that low hand even possible. Without it, it's not possible because you have to play two cards in your hand.
And in that case, if the low hand isn't possible, are you only playing for one pot for the high hand in that hand?
Correct.
Okay, cool. I'm with you
So
so far.
it
But the one
it's
thing that's always confused me when I first started was is the eight high or is the eight low? You can have an eight high low hand, right? Or does it have to be seven high?
no. Eight is included. Yeah,
Okay.
it's inclusive of the eight. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I messed that up several times when I was first on there.
Yeah. Yeah, these mix games, they can be confusing, no doubt. I've been sticking to hold them as a learner, but that's why I'm glad we've got Jake here and this monthly series so we can learn a little more about them.
That's right. And I don't play these low games as often. Um, so it's good for me to also like freshen up or refresh on these games. Um, so I'm glad that we're going through this. So when you look at the eight or better, like the best hands for eight or better, um, we think about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a five card hand, eight or better, right? Um, and depending on the game you're playing, straights don't count or do count.
Mhm.
So in most of the versions I've played, um, let me just double check here. Hold on one second.
So
I
like
think
8, 7, 6, 5, 4 would be a good hand, but 8, 6, 5, 4, 3 would be an even better hand for the low hand in this
correct,
world. Yeah.
correct. And in this scenario, like a straight is really bad, but because you don't want to have a straight, because that would be better than just five unplayable cards. But because it's eight or better, there's so few variations. For the low hand, typically you don't count straights.
Okay.
So, and same with flushes. They're not usually considered for the low hand. So the best
Oh,
possible low hand
interesting.
is ace, two, three, four, five, regardless of suits.
Regardless of suits. Okay. And that one
Um,
doesn't have an 8 in it.
it does not have an eight in it. So it's called eight or better because the highest possible card you can have for the low hand is an eight.
Now I get it. Okay.
It can be confusing. I get that. So
I, I
go ahead.
I was gonna say, luckily, I know just the guy who's got a fantastic poker playing platform where we can kind of see it all come together on the virtual felt here with our friends from Unshuffled, right?
That's right. And maybe it makes sense just to kind of go through it and show how it works. Um, why don't I go ahead and share my screen and we can go ahead and go through it.
Yeah, sure, of course.
All right.
Let's
So
see.
can you guys see my screen?
It's just loading up now. There it is. That's the Unshuffled
Cool.
homepage.
All right. So as always, got to be signed in to host a room. I'm going to go ahead and click host a room here. Um, Because so limit is to do with the betting. In a limit game, there's a small bet and a big bet. And typically the small bet is equal to the size of the big blind, and the big bet is 2x the big blind. So in this game, we're gonna do a 1,000 chip buy-in. We won't turn the turn timer on because we're gonna go through it slowly. And then I'm just gonna pick Omaha high low. Oh wait, Omaha high low on Unshuffled. The high low is always 8 or better. It's not in the name, but that is the way that the game is played and scored. And then for blinds, we're gonna go ahead and take antes off, and we'll do a 1-2. So the big bet. Oh, let's just do 5. Let's do 5-10. Why not?
Sure.
So the small blind's 5, the big bet's 10. That means, the small blind is 5, the big blind's 10. That means the small bet is equal to the big blind, that's 10. And the big bet is equal to 2x the big blind, which would be 20.
All right.
And typically there's 2 rounds. So the first 2 betting rounds are done with the small bet and increments to the small bet only. And then the second 2 betting rounds are done with the big bet and increments of only the big bet. Then we can go ahead and schedule or click play now. I've got my link. I can copy it and send it to whoever. I can also join the room with just the room code, which is what I'm going to do from another device.
And while Jake's getting set up here for our demonstration, I just want to point out that this is a fantastic program, Unshuffled. It's totally free. You can play with your friends, but you can also play against other Unshuffled members and their training bots, and you can win real prizes. There's free tournaments to enter happening all the time. And the tournaments are free, but the prizes are real. There's some pretty cool prizes out there, in fact, in some Amazon gift cards and some memberships to some training sites and stuff like that. So head on over to unshuffled.io and give it a try. What could be better than playing with your friends for free and winning some real money prizes?
Thank you for the plug. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the sound effects off so that we don't have any crazy sounds. I'm also gonna mute myself here in a second. There we go. Cool. So on Unshuffled, we have the dealer and we also have the host. The host is the person who hosted the room. They typically have some controls over the way the game functions, some of the settings. If you want to have people buy in for more chips, whatever it might be, that's what the host functions for. When I go ahead and click start hand, we will all get our 4 cards and the game will begin. So right away, I'm looking at my hand. I have a hand that will qualify for the low hand. So in 8 or better, you're required to play 2 cards for the high and the low. They can be different cards for both, but you have to use 2 cards from your hand. So let's just say I had Jack, 9, King, Queen. I would not be eligible for the low hand, no matter what, unless 5 low cards came up on the board. Actually, even then, because I have to play the 2 cards in my hand, I forgot we're not Texas Hold'em. So
right.
2-7 actually gives me a good opportunity for a decent low hand. Nothing great on the high, but for the sake of this, I'm just gonna go ahead and call the blinds. Remember, I don't know why this. Oh, that's weird that the chips aren't showing, but he is playing. So we'll go ahead and click check here. This player is sitting out for some reason. I think because let's rejoin.
I like
All right, we'll
Fluffy
get this
McBlufferson. I like
we'll
Fluffy's
get
odds here.
McBlufferson on the next hand. That's right. So we're playing heads up right now. We've got this other player. They've got pretty good low hand options. I'm just going to tell you that from, we're watching and, we're playing a practice round. We've got the jacks. That's great. This player is going to bet, and he's going to bet an increment of 10. That's the max you can bet. Because remember, that's the small bet. So he was going to go ahead and raise 10. And let's just say I want to raise because my jack came up. I can raise, and I can raise in increments of 10. So the total bet would be 20.
Okay.
And so on and so forth. You can keep raising in the small bets. A lot of rooms have limits. It's a number of times you can raise, which has a pretty big impact on strategy because it's hard to get totally bluffed out of a hand in the small bet because only so many chips can be bet in a given time. But I think people are a little more loose with their betting in that case. So at least when I play these limit games, people are a little more loose than in all in games where people will just go all in. You never know when someone could shove you all in, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so we'll go ahead and call this player. We'll get another card. So we've got a 5 and an 8. The low hand is not available yet because we don't have that third low card under 8 on the board. So even if you have the 2 best low cards in your hand, it means nothing if you don't get 3 low cards on the board.
Got
And
it.
that's really
That makes sense.
We've also now entered the big bet round. So the pre-flop is a small bet, the post-flop is a small bet, and now you're moved into the larger bet increments. So let's say this player wanted to bet, it would be a bet of 20, not 10.
Right.
And that's the minimum, that's the only amount they're allowed to bet in. We're gonna call. We have our jacks. There's no low hand on the board right now. We're feeling pretty good. It's the high pair.
Yeah, well, we got top 2 now, so we're feeling even better.
That's right. Oh, I forgot. We have a 9. We have 2 pair. Okay, so the 7 came up. So now there is a low hand available. The bad news for us is we paired 7s. So we don't actually have a low hand. We have a pair of 7s. And that's not going to do us anything. So we're pretty, unless if this other player has a low hand, which I can tell you they do, they're going to win it.
Right.
No question. And as this other player, I'll go ahead and see, can I?
And for the high, we were kind of worried about our opponent if they had a 10. Oh, but they have to use both cards. So they'd have to have,
use 2 cards.
So to make the straight, they'd have to have 10-8, 10 jack, 10-9, or 10-7. Or I guess 10 queen or 10-6. They can't just have a 10. They have to be able to.
Correct.
That does sound like a lot. Okay, so that probably would be a problem.
Just half the deck is all they
Half
need.
the tens is all they have to have.
It's unfortunate, but unfortunately, this player does have a straight, which is remarkable.
So they feel like they've got it locked up. So they're going to be betting here for sure.
So they'd be betting 20. I believe. Maybe I'm doing math wrong because the high low stuff can get complicated. The nice thing about Unshuffled is it does all that for you. You don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
If you know what you're doing, it'd be easy to keep track of these high low hands. I probably would raise in my own game because I would feel pretty confident that player's not going to have the straight. For the sake of this, I'm just going to go ahead and call. And then we're going to see the winner display. We've got the 8 low and the straight, which is just super unfortunate, but that's just the way that it worked.
And do you have to declare what pot you're going for, or is it just automatically you put the cards down?
Typically the cards speak for themselves.
Okay. So
the cards will know. I mean, I think if you're playing in person, like a home game, a lot of your friends might be like, you got to know what you have if you want to win.
Right.
We don't want someone just pulling pots when they don't know what they're doing.
I mean, I kind of do.
I need that help.
Yeah, it depends on the game, I guess, but point taken.
But otherwise, it's at least on Unshuffled, the cards speak for themselves. It will just pick your cards.
Yeah,
and that's it. I can let me see if I can get this other player to.
So the limit is 10. Can you bet less than that? Can I bet 8 or 7 or
limit? Limit
10 only.
Limit is also
like fixed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I guess we probably should have been more clear on what type of limit, because you could be pot limit or fixed limit. In this version, we're doing a fixed limit game. Fixed limit means you have to bet in these increments. Pot limit is another variation, which I actually think is more fun because the pots can still get pretty big.
Yeah.
But the calculation on the pots and on the minimum bets is actually quite complicated. It's not just whatever's in the pot is the limit. There's a lot of rules around like the call amounts not included because you have to make the call before you become eligible for the pot. And so we have that also on Unshuffle. We actually have a setting for it. You can turn it on, and then again, Unshuffle will handle it all for you. But it's funny, when we were building the pot limit function for this, it took me like a week and a half to get the math right. You think it'd be like a simple but it's just not, because it's I read all these different things like, actually you should be doing it this way, and like, oh, but if you do that way, then you miss this one edge case where if this happens, and it's like, this should be so simple.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of recreational poker players everywhere, thanks for saying that, because calculating pot odds and pot size bets and that kind of thing is a little complicated. It's not as simple as you think it should be.
It's complicated.
Well, so Jake, this is awesome. One of the things that we love about Unshuffled, which is why we're partnering up for these mixed game demos, is you can play so many different games there. You can make up your own games. You can play games from within the catalog. mixed games that you guys have tried. It's a great platform. It's super fun. Tell us a little bit about what's coming up with it and how folks can get the most out of it.
Sure. So the thing we're really focused on right now is what we're calling the Unshuffled Club, and it's sort of an opportunity for people to play in step events to win tickets to later events, and then we'll win real prizes. So when you create an account on Unshuffled, you can play in as many of these events as you want. It's totally free. You play in a step 1 event, you win a step 2 ticket. You play in a step two event, you win a final ticket, and then you can play in a final event and you can win a real prize. We give all of our prizes right now on Amazon gift cards. We always have a $5 Amazon gift card prize going at any point of the day. And then typically once or twice a day, we'll throw on a couple of $10 or $15 Amazon gift card prizes as well. So there's always a chance to win. You can play whenever you want. One of the nice things about these challenges is these initial events, we have a sort of a unique setup where you play against unshuffled AI players that will make bets based on just the cards they have and what they're seeing on the table. And what's nice about that is there's always a game. You never have to like wait around for like a tournament to start or for a group of players to join a sit and go. You can always play if you have a break at lunch, or maybe you finish dinner and you want to play a quick game, or you're going to bed, you want to play a quick game in bed before you go to sleep. Like you can always play and win a ticket. So we're pretty excited about this. We got our first format of like multi-table tournaments coming out hopefully by the end of this week. And yeah, hope bigger prizes too.
Nice. Well, it's always
Yeah.
fun. I enjoy these mixed game explanations a lot, Jake. Thank you so much for your time and for using this great platform to share this love of mixed game with our RecPoker fans.
Of course, it's we say this every time. It's my favorite meeting of the month. So I'm looking forward to next month.
All right, cheers. Well,
Yep.
everyone, if you're enjoying this, do come check us out over at rec.poker and go have some fun over with Jake and his buddies at unshuffled.io. Thanks, everyone, and welcome to Mixed Games. See you next time.